And we're off to the races. Owen versus Chapmin. Owen is on the play, being a higher seed at this point.
And this is a matchup we've seen a few times. Luis Gavargas tagging in here for Brian David Marshall and Marshall Sutcliffe, or Brian David Marshall Sutcliffe, as we like to call them. And we've seen Owen defeat Hardened Scales many times in this tournament.
Yes,
and
we have.
That's part of the way you make top 8. There's so many players did play Hardened Scales this weekend. Two of them made top 8, Mark Jacobson and Chapmin Sim, and Owen has to face one of them right now.
Chapmin Sim just plays Servant of the Scale on turn 1. No Hardened Scales for him on turn 1, so not off to the best start he could possibly want, but at least he gets to do something on this turn.
Owen kept one of the hands that's like probably closest to mulligan that you'd actually keep, which is Collected Company, Rally, and Lands. It's still a hand. I mean, you still will keep that because a turn 4 Collected Company is that good, but when you keep that hand, you really hope to draw a 2 or a 3 drop. If Owen doesn't play anything until the turn 4 Company, things might not go that well for him.
Yeah, but unfortunately, sometimes those are those hands that you say, well, I can't possibly mulligan this, but this might be the hand that we lose with.
Right, and it's not that you have to mulligan every hand unless it's great, but this is like one of those 52% hands where if you mulligan, you expect around a 48% hand, so you'd rather keep this one. It's just very close.
So Endless One is a play for Chapmin Sim.
And this is this is Hardened Scales when it doesn't have Hardened Scales. 1 mana 1/1, 2 mana 2/2. The follow-up of Nissa or Obzon Falconer does start to make the board a little bit more threatening, but it's still not a great position for Chapmin to start with these 2 cards. However, if Owen doesn't have a 3-drop, it might just be enough.
We were talking about this in Top 8 Live and how this deck is capable of winning without having the Hardened Scales draw on turn 1, but you do get this, right? How this is not very impressive. You have a 1 mana 1/1, 2 mana 2/2.
And Owen did draw an Nantuko Husk here, so he does have a 3-drop. He's deciding which of his lands to use, and he's going to use his Pluto Delta. Just because, yes, he could play the Plains here, but he assumes that he's going to use the Pluto Delta at some point, so the earlier the better.
So Owen was able to find something to do on this turn, which is nice. That Nantuko Husk is the play for Owen. And Mana Gorger Hydra is the draw for Sim.
It's funny that Husk is the play Owen wanted. He wanted a 3-drop, but Husk also not at its best. I mean, it can block the 2/2 or it can block the 1/1, but it's not really getting Owen super far ahead. Next turn, that all things will change because Owen's going to get to cast Collected Company, could hit Catacomb Sifter, Reflector Mage, any of these really impactful cards.
It is better than not having anything to do on turn 3, which currently was the situation that Owen was in, sitting behind that Rally the Ancestors and the Collected Company and really nothing else on the battlefield.
Yeah,
or in his hand.
Drawing Husk was very good.
Yeah. So it looks like the Servant of the Scale and the Endless One are going to crunch in. Owen doesn't want to block.
Yeah, the Obzon Falconer makes it so Chapmin just didn't want to worry about getting into combat. He's just going to fly over. And now Owen's going to, I expect him to see play a land and then just pass the turn. He then gets to threaten to Collected Company into a Reflector Mage or Sidisi's Faithful, which can then bounce the Obzon Falconer and let him make some profitable blocks. He could actually attack with the Nantuko Husk here, but it seems a little safer to keep it back.
Is this as good of a start as you can get with this deck if you don't have Hardened Scales on turn 1? It seems pretty decent, right?
Yeah, it's fine. You'd rather have an Avatar of the Resolute instead of Endless One on turn 2. I think that's the biggest difference because a 4/3 Trample Reach is a little better than a 2/2 No abilities. But either way, Chapmin at least is upping the pressure here. So now Chapmin does have to worry about Collected Company. It's clearly on his mind. He might not even attack with the Obzon Falconer here. And if he attacks with the other 2 creatures and Owen does hit a Reflector Mage, bounce the Falconer, block Endless One, that's just really bad for Chapmin. So Owen concluded if he hit Reflector Mage, things were good enough that you might as well attack with Husk.
Chapmin's draw for the turn was an Endless One. Unfortunately, it's just going to be a very small one. So it looks like he's going to leave a 1 mana available here to be able to outlast that first Falconer. But he is not going to crunch with it.
Yeah, he's playing around Owen hitting well off Collected Company because now even if Owen hits Reflector Mage, he can bounce 1 Obzon Falconer, but the other 2 creatures will still have flying. So if Owen hits double Reflector Mage here, then things will go really well for Owen. But as our friend told us last last round, the odds of that are not very high.
Are we not pulling out the hypergeometric calculator to find out?
The thing is, it's actually close enough to last time that you don't really need to redo the math. If it was 18% last time with 6 targets left in the deck, it's not going to be substantially different here since Owen's seen 13 cards instead of 16 cards, so it goes slightly down, actually.
So here's a collected company by Owen. Let's see what he manages to find. There's a Rally of the Ancestors, an Elvish Visionary, Zilliport Cutthroat, a Jace, no Bouncer. So this attack isn't going to be that bad for Chapmin. It could have been bad.
Yeah, in the very small percentage of time where Owen hits double bounce, it goes really poorly for Chapmin. But Owen still hit pretty well. He hit a second Cutthroat or a Cutthroat plus a Jace, so he's able to set up his rally pretty well. And this is going to let Owen take 3 down to 9, untap, flip Jace, and flashback Collected Company. Hope he doesn't take 9 next turn off of the Falconers. Though, with a Cutthroat in play, he has a little bit of wiggle room.
So at the end of the turn, Chapmin did outlast that Falconer. Second time we've seen it in the booth today. But yeah, and this is in Owen's turn. He'll be able to, if he wants, flip that Jace, flashback the Collected Company, and see what he finds. Now that he didn't find any of the bouncers before, he has a higher probability of hitting them. So it's getting progressively better for him.
And Chapmin using the Abzan Falconer to outlast actually put him in a kind of precarious position. If Owen sacrifices 4 creatures to Husk, it'll be a 10-10 and have drained Chapmin for 4. So there's a chance that Owen could deliver lethal here with Collected Company. Though since he attacked first, let's see, I don't think just Rally the Ancestors is going to be quite enough unless Owen hits. If he hits on Jace, so Chapmin didn't block, so if Owen hits a creature, he has Elvish Visionary in his hand, so this actually is lethal. Look, Husk goes to a 4/4, sacking Jace, tapping Jace, sacking it in response, discarding a creature, sacking the Cutthroat. Now it's a 6/6. Cast Rally, get 3 more cards. It's a 12/12. Chapmin gets drained for 3 more. That's actually just lethal.
Oh, wow.
Owen just strung together a turn 5 win here.
This is insane.
Yeah. And Chapmin not blocking there is a little aggressive because if he doesn't block there, all Owen needs is a Rally plus any creature to have lethal.
That was insane. That kind of happened out of nowhere. Wow. Very well played by Owen.
Yeah, he knows what his deck's capable of. He knows how much damage he can deal. Attacking the previous turn with Husk worked out very well for him, so that was a good play.
How much of a mistake do you think it is for Chapmin not to block in that spot?
It's tough because if Chapmin hadn't done the math, and he may not have realized how close he was to actually dying, given that Owen just needed a creature in hand plus a Rally, so Chapmin has a couple pieces of information over the course of the game. First of all, Owen didn't play a 2-drop. So that means that Owen couldn't have had on turn 2 any of Elvish Visionary, Zilliport Cutthroat, or Jace. He could have had potentially multiple 3-drops because he played turn 3 Husk, turn 4 Collected Company. So that doesn't rule out having a 3-drop. And if
just a 2-drop at that point.
Just a 2-drop.
Yep.
And if Owen kept a hand with no 2-drop, there's a pretty good chance he had Rally. Not 100% chance, certainly. So I think it's too likely that he has Rally plus any creature over to, between the Jace draws and the previous 4 turns that, yeah, I think blocking there would have probably been safer.
So we're going to take a look at our second quarterfinals match. We have Mark Jacobson versus Amir Radmard, and it's a matchup of Hardened Scales versus 4-color Collected Company. And this is a version that's running not black.
Right. It's got the Savage Knuckleblades and Mantis Riders are the main contributions that red brings it.
So from that Collected Company, Amir found both a Sylvan Advocate and a Stratus Dancer. Stratus Dancer being able to fly over all these things. It's pretty nice.
And we just got to the game, so can we verify Jace is on 61, or is it on, or do you think it's on 7? The giant 6-sided die being stretched to their limit by Jace is going above 6.
So Mantis Rider is going to get in there for 3, putting Mark down at 7.
And Mantis Rider is an effective card. If Avatar of the Resolute isn't in play, then the Hardened Scales deck doesn't have very many ways to deal with it. Abzan Falconer is another possibility, and Mark being on all forests means that there's a chance that this game that he may have white cards in hand and just be unable to play them. And in fact, he does.
In fact, I see it right there. That was another Nissa. What does that do for Mark?
Well, it lets him plus the first Nissa, play the second Nissa, keep the second Nissa, minus the second Nissa. But the problem is Amir's at such a high life total that Mark can't get too aggressive. and Stratus Dancer plus Mana Stride are so close to lethal. In fact, if Amir finds another green source, he can just go Dramoka's Command, flashback Dramoka's Command with Jace, just attack for 7.
Attack for 7.
But there's an Avatar of the Resolute, so that is certainly a much better defensive play than playing a Nissa, because it comes into play with 4 counters.
Oh, there was another, there's 2 Dramoka's Command. Alternatively, there's a chance Amir could minus that Jace and get Collected Company and potentially find another flyer, but, now that the Avatar is here, it definitely is going to do some work.
And Amir is very close to having lethal here, because he can go ahead and cast the Bounding Crisis to tap the Avatar, but he's still going to be 1 short if he uses Dramoka's Command. And he's got 4 other creatures tapped then, and then Mark has 5 blockers now that he's made a plant. The thing that Amir has to be worried about is Mark's creatures are getting bigger every turn, and if Mark draws a white source and plays a Falconer, Amir could just die in 1 turn.
Mm-hmm. So what does Amir have in his deck that could potentially take care of either the Falconer or even this Avatar of the Resolute? Let's take a look.
He's got Dramoka's Command. He also has Ojutai's Command, so he's already used 1 of them. So if he draws his second Ojutai's Command and is able to leave mana up for that, I think he's going to be pretty happy with the result. The fact that he's got Dramoka's Command in hand means that he is, if he leaves mana up for it, able to just kill a Falconer before Mark's able to fly over for lethal.
So Bounding Crisis and Reflector Mage would be 2 things that allow him to crunch in for a lot. But he doesn't have that many ways to actually just deal with the Avatar of the Resolute in his deck.
Yeah, Reflector Mage is really what he'd be looking for here.
Mm-hmm.
Amir actually stretched on green. He's only got the Cinderglade for green, and he's got 5 lands total. So he's got a lot of green cards in his hand. In fact, I think all the cards in his hand involve green mana. So he's locked into playing 1 spell, even though he's got 5 mana total. He's not able to play 2 spells this turn.
Yeah, it's a pretty unfortunate situation to be in.
And I think if he does use the Crisis, which it looks like he's considering, he gets to attack Mark down to 2, but then if Mark does draw the white source, plays Avatar minus his Nissa, yeah, that is way more than lethal.
So interesting decision here for Amir. He could try to put himself in a position to win the following turn, but he could also die before that actually happens.
Yeah, and it sounds like our first match is getting going again, so we're going to head back to our first match, and we'll see how this match concludes later.
So Mark and Amir, or sorry, Owen here and Chapmin are off to the races. We have the turn 1 hardened scales here, so the Hangerback Walker doing a little bit of work.
Yeah, and this is a much more optimal start. Last game we saw Chapmin start with a Servant of the Scale into an Endless One for 2. Hardened Scales into Hangerback Walker is a lot more impressive. It's also relevant that Owen can't go for Collected Companies and Rallies quite as safely against a deck that has Hallowed Moonlight postboard, which Chapmin does. Owen playing a Jace here on turn 2 or a Zulaport Cutthroat.
Who do you think gets better here post-board?
I think the green-white deck, the Hardened Scales deck, gets a little bit more just because Hallowed Moonlight is a card that shores up the matchup in a lot of ways. It just means that Owen no longer just has these trump cards that Chapmin can't interact with. Owen getting Murderous Cut is big, though. Murderous Cut's a very good card. So I think Chapmin gets a little bit better, but the fact is that Murderous Cut is comparable to Hallowed Moonlight. So overall, I think Rally still has the advantage.
So Jason's to play for Owen, and Chapman's going to follow that with an Avatar of the Resolute. It comes in with 2 counters, which is very nice for it. It's now a 5/4.
Yeah, but Chapmin didn't have a land, so Owen's going to be able to... Owen has a lot of options. He has a Reflector Mage. It's really tempting to Reflector Mage Avatar and make it so Chapmin just can't recast it next turn, especially since Chapmin doesn't have tons of cards he could cast, given that he's stuck on 2 mana.
We do see a copy of Hallowed Moonlight in Chapman's hand. Unfortunately, no white mana for him.
And this is what we've seen, throughout this event. Even if Chapmin draws white mana for Hallowed Moonlight, when is he going to be in a position where he can leave up 1 and a white? It's just not that many turns.
Currently, it's not happening.
No, and even if he draws 1 or 2 lands, he might just have to be casting spells in order to pressure Owen.
How many lands do these Hardened Scales deck typically run?
They typically play 24.
Yeah, that's not very many. See, that's a problem if you're trying to leave 2 up every turn to stop something like a Collected Company with Hallowed Moonlight. Reflector Mage is going to bounce that Avatar, Setting Chapman quite behind. I don't believe he's found a land either.
Well, he drew a Canopy Vista.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, which is basically the best draw he could hope for, because it comes to play untapped and doesn't even cost him a
You're
life.
correct.
So he now has a bunch of different options. If he didn't draw that, he would not be able to play a whole lot. But now he can play Jamoka's Command. He could leave up Hallowed Moonlight, which is not a great play, or not a play that Chapman's like really happy about. Maybe he's afraid of Collected Company that much, but it's just rough to not increase the pressure at all.
But if you're Owen, you see that. You can see through that because you don't really have to play into that Collected Company. You're ahead on board. You have this Jace that is going to be active very soon. So you can just keep developing your board and play other creatures and not necessarily have to run your very good spell into what seems like Hallowed Moonlight, because what else is going on in Chapman's hand?
Right. When Chapman missed a third land drop, then plays a land and says go, if that's what he ends up doing, then Owen's just going to think, okay, he's got Hallowed Moonlight and just going to keep playing creatures. So that's what makes that a bit ambitious of a play for Chapman, who actually has two avatars he can't play. So basically, Chapman can either play Jamoka's Command, Hallowed Moonlight, or Nissa here, and it looks like he's going to eliminate the Jace.
Yeah, so Hangerback Walker gets 2 counters and gets to fight that Jace. So Hangerback Walker is huge now, but this is still all he has going on his board. And now he's susceptible to Collected Company if Owen has it.
Doesn't look like Owen does. Owen has a good hand. He's got Zulaport Cutthroat and Elvish Visionary, as well as Nantuko Husk and Murderous Cut. He's not going to want to Murderous Cut Hangerback Walker and give Chapman 4 tokens. He'd much rather find a way to bounce it. My guess is he plays Elvish Visionary, sees what he draws, and then plays Cutthroat here. He could play Nantuko Husk, but if he was going to play Husk, I think he would have fetched for a black source, so he could play Husk and leave Murderous Cut up.
So 1, 2. There goes the Elvish Visionary.
No, I know he's looking for Jace. If he draws a Jace, he'll play that. Otherwise, he'll play the Zulaport Cutthroat.
Yeah, he was not able to find one, so he's going to get in with that Reflector Mage for 2. Putting Chapman down to 18 and Zulaport Cutthroat.
Chapman's still hoping to draw a land here because he would love to just play 2 avatars of the Resolute. Instead, he drew a Mana Gorger, so now his options are play Nissa, play Mana Gorger, or play Avatar. One big reason to play anything but Avatar is that if you draw a land and can play 2 avatars, that's much better than playing a 2-drop than playing next turn playing a 2-drop.
And I think he agrees with you. He's going to go with Mana Gorger Hydra and pass the turn back to Owen.
Well, that's a good sequence of draws from Owen. He found a Sidisi's Faithful and already had a Murderous Cut, so now he can go Murderous Cut your Hydra, Sidisi's Faithful, sacrifice it to bounce the hanger back, attack you for 3, you got Drain for 1, play an Nantuko Husk, and
Chapman doesn't have a board.
And then Chapman will have no board and will, with only 3 mana, presumably be able to just play 1 spell next turn. The biggest question is whether Owen wants to Sidisi's Faithful to hanger back now or try to clear a path for Husk later. Like, maybe he just goes Murderous Cut the Hydra, attack for 3, then play a Husk and say go, and then hope Chapman overextends and then just dies to a Sidisi's Faithful. But we'll see what Owen decides. It looks like if he's paying 2 for Murderous Cut, he's not going to play Sidisi's Faithful this turn.
Okay, so Murderous Cut is going to take care of that Hydra. Get in for 3, putting Chapman down to 14. Yeah, and his third land plays in Nantuko Husk. So a very nice turn for Owen right here. He got to do a number of things. And Chapman is now, he has that Hangerback Walker, but he's also not in a great position to be attacking here.
Right, and Chapman kind of has to think about that. Like, when you have Husk and Cutthroat in play, that's a lot of damage at pretty much any point. And Chapman didn't draw a land, so again, he's stuck under 1 spell per turn. He's got an Arcane Lab in play, a Rule of Law, where he's only allowed to play 1 spell every turn. And if he attacks and plays his 1 spell, then Owen, let's say Owen has a bounce spell, Owen then attacks with his Husk, can sacrifice 2 things to it, make it a 6/6, drain for 2, maybe sacrifice the Reflector Mage to it if that's what he had. 8/8, drain for 3. So Owen's still short, but if Chapman attacks for 4, then plays a creature, and then Owen goes to Reflector Mage plus another creature, that's lethal. Chapman did draw a Silk Wrap, though, so he can Silk Wrap the Husk away.
So Avatar the Resolute for him. He does come in and become a 5/4, which is pretty good at blocking some of these things, with the exception of the Husk, obviously. But not finding lands here has been very tough.
Owen just found Reflector Mage, so if Owen can go Reflector Mage, bounce Hangerback, CC's Faithful, bounce Avatar. Unfortunately, the Faithful drains for 1, but doesn't get sacked to the Husk. Chapman goes to 13, then Owen has 3 creatures it can sacrifice. So Chapman goes to 10, and Husk is an 8/8, so Owen's 2 points short of winning the game on the spot. What he can do is he can Reflector Mage the Hangerback Walker and just attack, and then Chapman, if he blocks, Owen sacrifices 2 creatures to make the Husk a 6/6, and then eats the Avatar, but then is a decent amount short. So if CC's Faithful was a Reflector Mage, I think Owen would have lethal, but because it's not quite, he looks like he's close.
Yeah, so Sidisi's Faithful is going to sack here and bounce the Avatar back to Chapman's hand. Will he fire off this Reflector Mage?
I have to imagine so.
Seems like it.
Because the Hangerback's such a appealing target to bounce to begin with.
Indeed. So here comes the Reflector Mage, going to bounce that Hangerback Walker. Chapman can't really do anything about it at this point, so here it goes back.
Yeah, and Owen's just going to attack for 5 now, put Chapman to 8, and have a very close to lethal Husk. The thing is, again, Owen can go in here. He can sacrifice his untapped Reflector Mage to deal an additional 2 damage, but I think you'd rather just have it in play.
So at this point, is there anything that Chapman, like what can Chapman potentially sequence from here on out? Because he's pretty far behind given what's going on. You know, he has a lot of cards in his hand, but he's just been able to play 1 spell per turn. And what can he do in that kind of
So Owen
situation?
is going. I don't think Owen's going to fully go for it. I think he's just going to sacrifice the 1 Mage. So that drains Chapman to 12, and then his creatures deal 7. So Chapman's going to be at 5, facing down those 3 creatures. And to your earlier question, if Chapman draws a land, that's really what he wants. All right, Wooded Foothills.
It's a painful land.
It's a painful land. Yeah, that's not quite as good. So that lets him play Silk Wrap plus an Avatar of the Resolute as a 3/2. Silk Wrap deals with Husk, but it sacrifices itself. Chapman goes to 4. Avatar then, I guess, can block Cutthroat, and Chapman can go to 1. So Chapman's really, really close to dying here. He's aware of that, but he does get to play 2 spells at least.
And he gets to not die this turn, which is huge, because otherwise he's probably just dead. So Chapman deep in the tank. This turn is very important. If Owen is able to take this, he is out of the quarterfinals and out of this top 8.
And Chapman doesn't have the option of playing Hangerback Walker here because it did get targeted by Reflector Mage.
So the Wooded Foothills is going to crack, and Chapman's going to find his 4th land. Can that be enough, though?
Well, Chapman isn't dead, but he's very close to it. He goes to 3, so he actually has to block the Reflector Mage here. So he took 1 off the land. He goes to 4. All right, so Zulaport Cutthroat's going to sack the Husk. Chapman goes to 3, and Owen has 2 2-power creatures in play. Chapman's going to play Avatar of the Resolute in order to block the. Oh, he can't play Hangerback.
Yeah, so he
got that got Reflector.
Yeah,
Mage.
I got Reflector Mage, and Owen's on top of it. There you go. So Hangerback comes back, and here comes Avatar the Resolute.
Which is now forced to block Husk, and Chapman goes to 1. So Owen just needs to draw another creature to keep the threats going. Catacomb Sifter is a great draw because now.
Oh yeah, here we go.
Yeah, that's fantastic because now Owen gets to sacrifice the token to the Husk, scry for 1. Chapman goes to 1 and is facing down 3 creatures.
And the Husk gets to live. So we have an update from the floor. Jacobson is up a game. Lingelbach is up a game. And Cuneo is also up a game.
And Owen up a match.
And Owen is up a match. So Owen Turtenwald moving on to the semifinals of Grand Prix Houston.
With actually our first match finishing. He rattled off a quick 2-0 there. Thanks to, especially in game 1, a really quick turnaround victory where he won from not a very big board to just going to dealing lethal in just 1 turn.
So we're going to take a look at our other quarterfinal match. We have Brock Parker versus Andrew Cuneo. Fun fact, Brock Parker's first name is John. I found that out this weekend.
Yeah, Brock's a good friend of mine, and even though I technically knew his first name was John, I've never called him John in my entire life. So, and I've known him for 5 years or whatever.
You learn something new every day. So let's take a look at what's going on here. We have a Rally versus Dark Jeskai. There's a Kalidas in play for Cuneo, but he's tapped out right now. So no zombies in the prowl. And
looks like Brock's resolving a collected company here.
yes, so he's found an Antuka Husk and a Jace from that collected company.
And let's see who gets to untap their lands, because depending on who it is, this game
This
could be very
happening
different.
anytime. Oh, it was John's turn. Sorry, Brock's turn.
And that's pretty good for Andrew here, because now he gets to untap with Kalidas. He has his hand is Jace and it looks like Fiery Impulse and Crackling Doom. So Kalidas is going to start going off here. He also has a Jace in play. If he had a Radiant Flames, things would definitely get wild, but even without one, Kalidas is really going to show how effective he can be against Rally here.
And this is the reason why the Rally decks bring in something like Murderous Cut to take care of Kalidas. It's because it's this good. It really puts them in a deep hole, and you have to take care of it pretty much as soon as it comes down. And it doesn't look like Brock has any way to do that right now.
He's reading. He can verify Kalidas is bad.
Another Radiant Flames?
So now Radiant Flames gets to trigger Kalidas 6 times because everything but the Nantuko Husk is going to die. And then Andrew can actually just Crackling Doom away the Nantuko Husk and end up with 7 zombies in play.
That sounds pretty good. If I were Andrew, I would be very tempted to do this.
Yeah, and Andrew's Jace gets to flip now. He gets to attack. He's going to get to attack with Kalidas for 3 after the dust settles here. And yeah, he does have the mana to play.
Yeah, he's going to do it. I think he agrees. It's a very tempting play. Here we go. So here we go. 3 mana. He's being very deliberate.
And did you know that Brock's nickname is Brock Parkour because he likes doing parkour?
Does he actually like doing parkour?
No, not at all.
So Radiant Flames here for 3 from Andrew Cuneo. And yeah, this is about to get ugly.
Yeah, the Husk is going to eat
Everything.
And then the Crackling Doom is going to eat the Husk.
So Jace gets sacked to the Husk. 2 drains from the Cutthroat.
Well, Cutthroat doesn't actually drain because of Kalidas. Kalidas just stops
Oh, yeah,
everything.
you're right. You're
It
completely right.
negates that deck completely, and that's part of the reason it's so effective.
Well,
here.
he still wants to make sure that these creatures end up in the yard for future rallies, but that said, it does stop all the... here come the zombies.
Yeah, it's really just shutting everything down. They're going to all end up exiled. None of them... Like, there's no order Brock can do this in that really makes things work for him. The exception here is the Scions. The 2 Scions do get to trigger the Cutthroats because it's non-token.
Non-token?
Yeah. What Brock is getting value out of here is by sacrificing everything in response, Andrew gets a bunch of zombies that do end up dying. So that is not as quite exciting as I would have hoped. Disappointment.
Is there a chance that maybe he could have Radiant Flames for 1?
Yeah, you know, that actually, so the difference there is it would not have killed the Jace. But yeah, maybe that's a play that Andrew may have considered it. Let's see. His mana doesn't quite work to Radiant Flames for 1, actually. He doesn't have triple red. Otherwise, that would have worked out.
That's true.
And actually, I think the last card in his hand is Chandra. We'll take a look here as soon as we can see it, but...
That would have been an interesting play had he had it available,
it's a
but yeah.
Impulse. That's less exciting.
Yeah.
Either way, Andrew's in a very good shape here. It's the second Radiant Flames. Kalidas attacking for 5. And then Jace gets to flashback a Painful Truths here. And you know your opponent's in good shape when they're flashing back Painful Truths and you have nothing on the board and they're hitting you with Kalidas and a zombie. It's going to be really hard for Brock to come back into this.
How good would it be if Brock top decked something like a Rally right here?
He's got 2 Catacomb Sifters and a Sidisi's Faithful and a Cutthroat. Wouldn't be terrible. You can use Sidisi's Faithful to bounce Kalidas, and then you get a bunch of scries, but you're not really progressing past that.
Instead, he is cracking a fetch land, thinning his deck a little bit. Hopefully, he gets to draw something better. Andrew just plays a Jace and passes the turn.
Yeah, if Brock drew Collected Company and hit like a Reflector Mage to bounce Kalidas, he could then draw. Like if he hit Collected Company into Nantuko Husk plus Reflector Mage, then drew Rally. I mean, that's a sequence of plays that would be pretty good, but it seems like that would be pretty difficult.
So let's see what John, I keep calling him John, let's see what Brock can manage to draw here.
It is technically his name, so I don't think you're making an error by calling him that.
I know, but he's Brock to me.
So now John has to decide whether he wants to play the card he just drew or not.
You know it's not... Oh, interesting. So a pass back to Andrew.
Yeah, it could be a collecting company who's deciding whether to play it main phase or not. Andrew drew a disdainful stroke, it looks like, so he has protection from any of the instants that John could use to get back into the game.
So the Shambling Ven is going to get in there.
It's
attack with everyone.
Yeah, things get grim when the vent starts shambling over, just because if Andrew's willing to spend that much mana just to attack for a 2, it means that he's pretty secure in his board position.
Indeed. So Jace will take up, and you know Andrew pretty much has his bases covered. He doesn't, you know, he'll be able to protect himself. Yeah, there you go. So extension of the hand. Brock knows that this is game over at this point. Cuneo takes it in 2 games, and this puts Cuneo in the semifinals.
Yeah, so far we've seen Rally advance and Rally not advance, with Dark Jeskai defeating Brock here and Andrew moving to the semis, as you said.
So let's tune in and see what Cody, Lingelbach, and Brock Mosley are up to. It's a matchup of Grixis Dragons versus Red Absent. So many names. And it looks like Cody's leading a game up against Brock.
Do you mean John or do you mean Brock?
What, Cody is leading up against Brock? This is the mono Brock aggro top 8.
Look, every time you think coverage gets too easy, I have to just like throw a few curveballs and some misinformation here. But yes, Cody is up a game against Brock, like Brock for real, and
actual Brock.
And he's now actually slamming a Thunderbreak Regent. So Transgress the Mind plus Murderous Cut led to a pretty efficient turn for Cody.
The Thunderbreak Region is the draw for, or the play rather, for Cody.
Brock's deck is full of removal, though. I mean, one of the advantages of playing all the colors but blue is that he's got access to Crackling Doom, Obzon Charm, Murderous Cut. He's got a main deck Pulse of Marasa. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and we saw that card in a couple people's sideboards. As I heard the interaction that's pretty cool is this tech against Rally, because you can return and then Tuka Husk when they're rallying back.
Oh, wow.
So they don't actually have it in their hand by the time that's all said and done.
Yeah, it is targeted, so in response to Rally, you put their Husk back in their hand and hope that they tapped out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a thing.
Don't know that we ever saw that happen at all this weekend. I certainly didn't see it, but it's very cool interaction. So Languish is going to take care of that Thunderbreak region. He doesn't even have to take, Brock doesn't even have to take damage for that. It's pretty nice.
Yeah, well, Cody's follow-up is going to be Kolagon the Stormster. He's got 2 copies in hand, and I expect to see one of them dashed into play. Brock sitting on, it looks like 2 removal spells, Obzon Charm and Murderous Cut. So, well, as things currently stand, Brock's going to take 5, untap, presumably just pass the turn if he doesn't draw something to play. Cody's going to dash again. Kolagon's going to die. Brock's going to pass back. Cody's going to dash again. Kolagon's going to die. So we're going to see a lot of this. Woo!
There you go. So Kolagon comes in.
Dash with a flourish there.
Take 5. Kolagon back in there. Back to Brock. Oh, was that a Goblin Dark Dwellers? Not enough lands to play it yet.
Still a good draw. Like, if Brock could have put Goblin Dark Dwellers on top of his deck, I think he may have elected to do so, just because, like, if he had that option, just because if he draws a 5th land, that's just one of the best cards he can have.
So here's what we were talking about. Here we go. Kolagon comes in. He's about to die. She, actually. Kolagon's a she. Exiled. Pass back to Brock.
So if Brock draws a land, he's going to play the Dark Dwellers, presumably. You can maybe just, like, play Obzon Charm to draw 2 cards. Drawing 2 cards seems a little more appealing than giving Goblin Dark Dwellers +2/+2, and a lot more appealing than exiling it.
So Goblin Dark Dwellers gets in, and Brock gets to draw 2 more cards. It seems like he's found a Murderous Cut and another Burn Spell. It's a red one. I'm not sure which one.
It looks like his hand is Radiant Flames
That's a
and
Radiant
Fiery
Flames.
Impulse to go with the cut he had, and he's got a lot of removal, so...
Kolagon, let's go.
Ooh, Kolagon's behind the lands this time?
Yes.
It's crucial. And
Another land for Cody. Hangerback Walker for 1.
can't chump the Goblin Dark Dwellers yet because it has Menace, but... Oh, wow. Murderous Cut's going to be awesome here because Brock drew a Siege Rhino, so he can attack Cody down to 12, Siege Rhino, drain for 3, and still have exactly 4 cards in his graveyard to cast Murderous Cut when Cody goes for the Kolagon.
That Kolagon again. Yes, this Kolagon does not sit back. It's coming into attack, but it's going to die a lot of painful deaths. Siege Rhino gets to drain right here, putting Cody down at 9. And pass back to Cody.
Brock's got a pretty fast clock. Goblin Dark Dwellers attacks for 4, Siege Rhino hits for a bunch. Is that a Transgress the Mind? If so, that would be a pretty excellent draw. Looks like a 4-mana spell. Oh, Bearer of Silence. This is a 2/1 flyer, and it's going to force Brock to sacrifice one of his creatures.
That's actually pretty nice. Both of the creatures that Brock has in play are pretty good.
Indeed. Oh.
Bearer of Silence, not a card that we've seen too much this weekend, but he makes appearances here and there in blue, black, Eldrazi lists, and apparently here too in Grixis Dragons.
So Brock has some good options here. Siege Rhino is a little bigger. Goblin Dark Dwellers having Menace was very relevant last turn, but I think this turn you might see Fiery Impulse on the Hangerback. Oh, I see. So what Brock could have done if he wanted to is Fiery Impulse the Hangerback. Cody would have made it a 2/2 and then untap and then just cast Radiant Flames to wipe all the 1/1s. Instead, he's opting to Fiery Impulse the Bearer. This ends up basically the same, except he just gets extra 2 damage off Siege Rhino here.
So nice sequencing by Brock right here. Cody's gonna get those 2 Thopters, but Brock does get to clean up this mess.
And Brock still has that Murderous Cut, and he knows about the Kolagon because it's been dashed, so he's going to want to save his removal for that. The advantage of doing it this way is he can wait on the Radiant Flames until next turn to maybe pick up an extra creature. But he did give up 2 damage. If he had gone Fiery Impulse on the Hangerback, untap Radiant Flames, he would have attacked Cody down to 5 instead.
We found the appropriate Thopter, and it looks like Brock is going to go for that play right now. 3 different colors. Here we go. Radiant Flames.
Presumably for 2. If it was for 3, then the Siege Rhino would die, but it looked like he counted out his lands specifically.
Oh, yeah, you're right. There's double red in that Smoldering Marsh.
So Cody's on no cards except Kolagon and now Sheevan Reef. He's got not a ton of options. He's going to have to dash this. He's going to attack, and then Brock's going to answer with his last card.
There you go. So Cut's going to take care of that Kolagon. Delve 2 away. And now Brock's looking really good. He just has a Siege Rhino in play. Cody has no answer for it. And
Cody's got 1 turn. He's got a top deck. He's going to hit down to 3 by a Siege Rhino, and Cody's got 1 draw step away from heading to game 3 here.
So Cody at 3 and a pass back to Cody. He's found a Thunderbreak Regent.
Well, not an answer to Siege Rhino, but at least buys him a turn here.
It does. Unfortunately, it can't really do anything. It's just going to go under the bus. You don't typically see dragons going under the bus like this.
No,
but there he goes.
Somehow a Rhino is bigger than a dragon.
Oh, it looks like that was another land for Cody. Oh, it's a Haven of the Spirit Dragon.
Well, he's got exactly enough mana to get back Kolagon, the Storm's Fury, and play it. So now he just plays a Kolagon and passes the turn.
Yeah, and the hardcast Kolagon's able to block the Siege Rhino right here. That was a very good draw for him.
That worked out. So you're right, it was just a land, but it also happened to be a great land.
Yeah. It was one of the better lands he could have found. Cinderglade for Brock. His last card is a spell. Crunch Siege Rhino. They pillow fight.
So they both end up on 1 toughness here. What is Cody's last card? Oh, Pia and Kiran Nalar.
The promo version of them. This is very...
And so now he can actually finish off the Kolagon.
And he's going to do exactly that. Sacrifice one of the Thopters, take down the Kolagon. And now what can Cody do? Does he have any sweepers in his deck?
I don't believe so. And
He does not,
they're
and
going to
that's
game 3.
They're going to game 3 now.
And there was actually a forced block, so Cody could have, or Brock could have also played the P and Q on LR first and kind of done a different order, get an extra point of trampoline. You got to get that value.
So we're going to be bringing in Mark Jacobson here to the booth. Oh, never mind. We are going to send it down to BDM to interview Mark Jacobson.
All right, I'm here with Mark Jacobson, the last man standing on the green-white hardened scales deck. Mark, how's the deck been treating you this weekend?
The deck has been phenomenal. A lot of people said they didn't have as much luck with it, but you know, even just the average draws, they really come together. You have so much synergy. I really like where it's going.
And you can win with this deck without getting hardened scales in your opening hand?
Oh, for sure, definitely. Nissa is like hardened scales 5 through 8, and sometimes even way better.
So you're in the top 4 here,
Mm-hmm.
and this is your second top 4 in your Magic career.
Mm-hmm.
You need one more match to sort of get past
Level up,
that.
yeah.
What you have any idea who you're playing? What's going on? Have you looked at the bracket?
I do not know the bracket. There's at least a rally and sort of like a Jeskai, Grixis sort of thing, and there's a Grixis Dragon sort of thing. Yeah.
Okay.
That's all I know, really.
But has this kind of just been your mindset the whole weekend? Have you just been head down, just like bring me my next victim?
Yeah, in a way, just like trying to play tight. There's a lot of Mana Gorger Hydra triggers. There's a lot of weird sequencing you have to do, and like playing random endless ones as 1/1s just for tempo. And you know, only one time did I discard an endless one to grow my Mana Gorger Hydra by 2 counters. You know, just cast it for 0.
Oh, that's kind of a sweet little
Yeah.
subtle interaction
Yeah,
that you only get from playing the deck a lot.
Yeah, you have that and Hangerback Walker as sort of your 0 mana boost your Hydra options.
As your mutagenic growths.
Yeah,
sort
better.
of.
Yeah.
So what's something that what has this whole run been like for you with over the last several, like Grand Prix, Pro Tour, Grand Prix?
Pittsburgh went really well. Came up a little bit short with Amulet Bloom, which was a sweet deck. And then after that, things just kind of went mediocre. Oakland, nothing really. Vancouver, nothing really. Obviously, my team broke the Modern PT. I played Infect. I thought it was a solid choice.
So
you know, just like decent 9-7 record.
When they said green-white hardened scales for this tournament, you listened?
I don't know how much that was. It was a little bit, you know, sort of regretting not playing Eldrazi. Like, wow, this is a sweet deck. I played some games. I didn't have that much time to test because I was busy with work. I did a lot of crowdsourcing, like talking with a lot of individual people that were playing it, getting their opinions on the 75 and how they're boarding. We had like a spreadsheet going where people were sharing their league matches. So I feel like it was a lot of crowdsourcing on my part, and it really worked out.
Okay. So now, where are you on your season in terms of pro points? Like, where are you?
So I had 13 points going into this, and I guess I'm guaranteed 5 now. So with those and getting 3 guaranteed for Madrid, locked silver. So basically, when I won the round 13 match to be 13-0, that was a triple PT qualification. So it's pretty great.
You guys seem to like to do that, the triple PTQ wins. It's like the signature move of Team East West Bowl.
Yeah, you know, we're grinding our way to up there, you know.
Now, do you guys like kind of keep track of how you guys are doing as far as qualifications? Like how many people you can like know that you'll have on the team for multiple events?
It's just sort of go with the flow sort of thing.
That also seems to be a little bit of a team philosophy. You guys seem to be pretty chill about everything.
Yeah. So this weekend, Tim Wu got there on the regional PTQ. Last weekend, Paul Yim got there on the regional PTQ. So we're getting more people back on.
All right. Well, I'm going to let you go hydrate, get yourself ready for your semifinal match. We got one more quarterfinal to wrap up here at Grand Prix Houston.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, BDM. We're back here with Gabby Sparks, Luis Scott Vargas in the booth. We're getting ready to watch round 3. Excuse me, game 3 between Cody and Brock.
Both these players hoping to make it to round 3 of this top 8.
Yes.
And both these decks, not, you know, filled with like a ton of 1 and 2 drops. Cody actually is the slightly more aggressive of the two with cards like Bear of Silence or Hangerback Walker to play on turn 2. But Brock is content just going land because he's got tons of removal in his deck and is looking to just deal with everything Cody plays.
So Eldrazi Sky Spawner for Cody, that's a really nice one here.
Yeah, it is a very effective card when your opponent's sitting on 1/1 removal spells. Like
Mm-hmm.
Radiant Flames can kill Sky Spawner and the Scion, but it's still not the worst trade for you.
So who of these two players do you think improves post-board? This is their third game, but you know, one of them's going to have to be the control player here, right?
Yeah, it looks to me like they both just get a kind of like cards that are decent in the matchup, but both the way both these decks are constructed, there's no one card that really gets them. So it's not like Rally where you're just like really annoyed when your opponent's boarding in like Hallowed Moonlight or Dispel. But yeah, both players get some answers. Like Cody can bring in Dispel if he wants to counter like Obzon Charm or Crackling Doom. And Brock can bring in just a bunch of like one of value cards like Kolaghan's Command, Pia and Karen Nalar, Chandra, just that sort of thing.
So Brock's tapping 3 here. I think there's a couple of... Oh, Kolaghan's Command.
Yeah, it's going to be kill the Sky Spawner and discard a card, I suppose.
Yeah, so down goes the Sky Spawner. Now Cody needs to choose what he wants to discard. Ooh, down goes Silumgar, the Drifting Death.
And Silumgar not the most effective against a deck that doesn't really have any tokens, except for Pia and Karen Nalar, but just a 3/7 hexproof's actually not bad when your opponent's got a lot of targeted kill spells.
And Silumgar hasn't been making many appearances in Standard lately. It was definitely a mainstay in some earlier versions of some controlling decks, but this is the first time I've seen that buddy in a long time.
Yeah.
Thunderbreak Region. Wow, so Cody has to sack that Scion in order to play Thunderbreak Region, signifying that he does not have another land. So he'll pass back to Brock.
Yeah, he would have really loved to not have to sack Scion and not take 2 pain off the Sheevan Reefs, but yeah, that's what he has to do to get Thunderbreak into play.
Brock has Crackling Dooms in play, though. Or in his hand, rather.
Yeah, Brock has a lot of answers to Thunderbreak Regent, and he's going to be able to kill it. Also, you know, if he's worried about a blue deck having Dispels, then he would want to do it main phase.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he can certainly do it now and not be worried about any of that. And Crackling Doom's a very clean answer to Thunderbreak Region because it won't target it. So here we go. Crackling Doom. Down goes that Thunderbreak.
Brock would prefer his opponent take 2 rather than he take 3. Sounds like a better deal. And Cody's just hoping to draw lands. He's got another Thunderbreak in hand. He's got a Kolaghan in hand. And
He found a Sky Spawner.
well, it's like drawing a land, right?
Sort of. Close, but not quite.
So Goblin Dark Dweller is really showing its power here. Brock can go Goblin Dark Dweller's Kolaghan's Command, kill Sky Spawner, you discard another card, and just this is what his deck's been doing all weekend, just grinding his opponents out, getting just all 2-for-1s. It's just a deck full of 2-for-1s in across 4 different colors.
Here we go. Goblin Dark Dweller is targeting Kolaghan's Command. Kill the Sky Spawner, discard a card. Yeah, and things not looking so hot here for Cody. He really needed to draw land a couple turns ago.
Yeah, and the brutal part about this is he's behind on lands, but he's also behind on cards. Sometimes when you're stuck on lands, you end up with more cards in your hand than your opponent. But because he keeps getting 2-for-1 off this Kolaghan's Command, almost 3-for-1 here because it's off a Dark Dweller,
Yeah.
it's going to be really hard for him to come back.
So Transgress the Mind is going to let Cody take a look at all of Brock's hand. There's that Pulse of Marasa.
Well, which currently doesn't have any targets, so Cody could take Obzon Charm here and then Murderous Cut Dark Dwellers, but then he would have a target for Pulse. He could take Obzon Charm because that can kill the Thunderbreak Regent in Cody's hand, but Cody's behind on board. He could, as unpleasant as it is, take Pulse and then Murderous Cut the Dark Dweller. And that leaves Brock with Unoffensive plus Obzon Charm, and actually not able to cast them both in the same turn. Basic Mountain means you can't cast both of your Obzon flavored cards off 6 mana, but either way, Brock has access to a lot of cards, and in fact, he does have to take the Pulse there.
Yeah, that can't that can't feel good. But he is going to have to do that. Cody takes that Pulse of Marasa, cuts the Goblin Dark Dwellers. It's to devil away a significant part of his graveyard. And then Zion's going to get in there for a 1.
That's another Dark Dwellers.
That was a very good draw for Brock.
So Brock's going to want to wait on that until he's got a target for that Crackling Doom, or a good target, not just the Scion. So yeah, and on offensa, going to force Cody to react. If Cody doesn't draw a better spell, he's going to play Thunderbreak, then Brock's going to go Dark Dweller's Crackling Doom you, and that's just going to be huge.
So it looks like Cody, yes, he can play that Thunderbreak region now, but we know this Thunderbreak region is not long for this world.
No, and Brock's plan is just working. He's just every turn, you know, getting value. I guess the turn recast on offensa, he didn't get a 2-for-1, but it's going to look pretty good when he kills the Thunderbreak and just attacks for 4, dealing 2 with the Crackling Doom. It's going to put Cody at 8, facing down a pair of 4/4s with an Obzon Charm still in Brock's hand. Mana bases and standard are something.
Yeah, between red abs and Marta green, not blue.
Well, I don't know if I'd call this red Obzon. I would probably call it Naya black or maybe Jund white.
So Brock can go for the play you were talking about right now. He can Dark Dwellers. Yeah, and it looks like he's going to go for it.
Dark Dwellers has looked awesome in this game.
Yes, it has. It actually has looked very good every time I've seen it in the feature match area this weekend.
Well, it's a 5-mana spell. I guess when you cast a 5-mana spell, they end up being pretty good. But yeah, it has just completely swung this game in Brock's favor.
And the way that the deck is constructed is just, you know, leveraging the fact that you can do that. You're actually up mana when you finish casting Goblin Dark Dwellers if you play your cards right. So this puts Cody down to 8, and he's facing down lethal next turn.
And he's got a Hangerback Walker. He's going to be able to play it for 2, but on offense stops Hangerback from being all that impressive either.
Hangerback Walker for 2. Now he has Chompers, but that's kind of all they are. Sylvan Advocate is a draw for Brock.
Goblin Dark Dwellers also has Menace. Also going to get a +1/+1 counter from on offensa here.
Counter on the Dwellers.
Cody's got to block one of the 2, and if he wants to block Dark Dwellers, he has to lose both his creatures. Brock could put Cody down to 1 by casting Obzon Charm as a +2/+2, but the upside of that is actually would make it so Cody can't play red spells anymore, but I don't think that Brock needs to do that.
Oh, Transgress the Mines. He's a Wooded Foothills. He knows the coast is clear. Down comes Sylvan Advocate. And now what can Cody do? Nothing.
He can flip over his top card.
And extend a handshake. It looks like Brock Mosley takes it down in 3 games and moves on to the semifinals. So that's going to be it for our quarterfinals. Some very, very good matches. Hello and welcome back to the booth. We hear some cheering over there. We have some players that are pretty excited to be in the semifinals today.
Or possibly their friends.
Or possibly their friends.
It's usually better when you let your friends cheer for you, so you